Hi Kris, it's Professor Melanie giving you feedback on your meaningful use paper and assignment for our Transforming Healthcare course. I like to obviously give video feedback. It'll be a little shorter than usual because I went through some of the more pressing information on APA last time. But overall, I enjoyed your paper. I enjoyed your take on talking about discharge instructions, and yes, how initially we were kind of worried about patients being able to see what we wrote about them. So I'm going to just jump in and just give you some other feedback here, and I'll get to it. So thank you for putting your running head at the top. And then in this paper, you don't need a space in between your title and your name. So this was good. And thank you for a fun and creative title. Sometimes people forget that they're allowed to actually be creative and use that fun title to be catchy. And then your abstract was just a little bit off in your formatting. So this would be over here, and all of these would be to the indent over to the left too. For some reason it was just tabbed over twice. So it's flush against the left, and then in the abstract you want to kind of give a summary of what your paper is going to be about. And then you just had like a couple of typos in here, and then make sure you add keywords to the bottom of this page too. And I didn't count, but always remember to keep this abstract less than 250 words. And then your first line up here, back on this after your abstract page, would be your title bolded and centered. So you would add your title back in there. And then the only thing that I would add is you kind of gave more of a history of your CMS and ERA in the abstract, but you didn't repeat that in your paper. So you would want to put a similar amount of information, maybe just adding back a paragraph, obviously not the same paragraph, but a similar one in here to kind of go back through the background. Because the abstract is that concise little summary of what happened in the paper or the research that someone was doing, and it really draws you in. So it tells you, the background quickly, what's going to be happening, and then the aim of this paper is, and it will address this. So just repeat a little bit of this information here. You would repeat that in your opening introduction. But I like how you started off with your engaging patients and patient family, and to make sure that they are part of the team, right? We've learned that the more we involve them, the better off patient care will be. And then, the meaningful use, and you did have it was rolled out in stages. You could have used headers here that says stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. If you wanted to for APA formatting, it does help a little bit with letting the reader know where you're going with your next paragraph. And then here where you see Alexander Frith and what would have been Hoy, this would just be, because you have more than 2 authors, it would be Alexander et al., period, comma, 2019. So if there's 2 authors, you put the and sign in between. If it's more than 2, you do the author et al. And then the date. And then again, just a couple of grammar, that would just be a question mark there. So, I think you gave good example of your more local stage 2, what that's involved with. And I think that was really an interesting change, that once the disposition has been identified, they could actually see their results. So that was good that you added in what the current state was, even as far as your own, the Allegheny Health Network records. So again, you had some good background information, and I liked your closing conclusion. You can even put the word conclusion here, and then, state a little bit more about what's happened with meaningful use. And then you just want to make sure that you add the references to its own page, what it might have been, since I was moving things around a little bit. But yeah, just add references. And I always tell people to make sure that they are, so this patient safety network would actually be your author. And then you would have no date. And then you would have your meaningful use measurement. So just, again, just some formatting errors with APA, which is not always the easiest to use. I realize that. And then even your CMS ones, these would be Centers for Medicaid and Medicare and Medicaid. And then just being mindful, sometimes when you place a link in there, like when I looked this up to Google it just to see what the link was about, it was going to help you with it took me to this page. So just being careful if you're using like a PDF or something, or if you're clicking on one of these particular links, like for this one. Let's see if it takes me to the right one. Okay, so this is CMS is your author, and then it has your PDF, which is probably what you looked at, which is fine, but you can use the page last modified date as your date, and you can use CMS as your author. So again, just to help with making sure that you have your APA formatting correctly. But overall, again, I enjoyed your topic and I enjoyed your discussion, and I think it was great that you used real-time examples of the current state from where you work and how it applies to you, because that's exactly what we want to do is to learn about these larger programs and how they impact us and our patients at the smaller level and at the larger. So overall, great job, and thank you for submitting your work.